Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com.
It's all about the deal at Brunswick Auto Mart. Save big this month with deals like this. Don't miss the Make This the Summer event and lease a new 2025 Ram 1500 Night Edition Crew Cab 4x4 with heated side mirrors, parking sensors, backup cam, Apple CarPlay, and lane departure warning for just $319 a month. Brunswick Auto Mart. Car buying made truly simple.
And welcome everybody to Sports on Tap. This is the high school football recap show for week 3 of the high school football season, presented by Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance. For a home, auto, life insurance quote, make sure you visit them at www.rayfelton.com. You got to hear about him and all of our other awesome sponsors before the show. Stick around we'll take a break mid-show to hear from our sponsors and another note from all of our sponsors also after the show as well. My name is Ed Dick, alongside Rob Troutman, Sean Duffy, Noah Jacobson, and Josh Jeffy. You are watching us live on our YouTube channel, Sports on Tap. Make sure you like, subscribe, smash the notifications button, get those notifications when we are about to go live on the air. We're also on Facebook at Sports on Tap. Make sure you like us there, follow us there as well. We are on Twitter/X at SOT Podcast. We had four games that we are live at, providing live updates at via our Twitter handle. So make sure you're following us there to get all the live updates you need, and then any other updates that we have throughout the week. We're also on Threads at SOT_podcast. We are also on Spotify. So make sure you check us out on Spotify. That's your means of listening to podcasts. Our website is sportsontap.podcast.com. And once we start, you can see the schedules, the scoreboard, and where we're going to be are all posted on our website. For comments, questions, pronunciations, corrections, or suggestions, send us a note at sportsontap.podcast@gmail.com. We have an awesome show for you today. This is the last week of non-conference play. So we're going to go from covering anywhere between, call it 25 to 30, or 15 to 20 games, to maybe even 30 games, to a more controlled slate, probably more like 20 games, as all of our conferences happen to have 8 teams in them now, and it makes things pretty even for us. So as a result, we will have this will be our last week where we have a little bit extended coverage of all of our conferences. We will have Midview running back Marcus McMahon joining us tonight around the 8:30 time frame. We will have we'll talk about our Mehco Custom Printing Player of the Week winner. As we talk about our conferences, we will announce who our Player of the Week nominee was, and then we will announce the Mehco Custom Printing Player of the Week later on in the show. And we'll talk about what we're doing next week as we are starting to get into conference play. Hard to believe that we're 3 weeks into the season already. It's already about a third of this, or 30% over from a regular season standpoint, and we're going to start talking playoffs here probably in the next few weeks. But as of now, teams are trying to get those computer points built up before they get to very familiar opponents in their conference. So with that, let's kick it off as we normally do. Let's go to the Suburban League Natty Conference. Josh Jeffy is going to lead us off as he always does. Josh?
Thanks, Ed. And as usual, another great week in the Suburban League National Division. We're going to start off with last Thursday. Stowe kept on the winning ways. They took on Cleveland JFK, and they came away with their second straight victory, 44-7. Another good game by quarterback Jake Harrington. He had 3 touchdown passes in this. And actually, the first quarter of this game, two of the touchdowns went to Andrew Rickelman, and one went to Dayton Keeling. It was 30-0 after the first quarter. Starters did not play the rest of the game. Looking over this game, kind of a cool note. Michael Leonard made note of it in the Akron Beacon Journal, so props to him. Give him credit for this one. Late in the first half, Michael Stotts scored his first touchdown of his career. He is on the autism spectrum. So it was a big team moment. The team really rallied around him. So it was good that he got his first touchdown of his career, and hopefully not his last. Just a good story there. Stowe improves to 2-1 on the season, as once again they come away with a 44-7 victory over Cleveland JFK. That took place last Thursday. The Friday slates of games, Hudson got a good bounce-back win after being shut out in Week 2 against Highland. They came back and shut out St. Vincent St. Mary 49-0, and they were led by running back Reno Ferry. He led the Explorers with 4 first-half touchdowns, 10 carries, 139 yards. Quarterback Hayden Lipinski was 9 of 10 for 129 yards and 2 touchdowns. His touchdown passes went to Anthony Paolucci and Gavin Hitchcock. And for the Explorers, they improved to 2-1. This is a very good bounce-back win, something that they needed as they prepare for Natty League play coming up here in Week 4. Wadsworth continues their dominating start to the 2025 season with a 47-0 victory over the Medina Bees. The defense dominated again, holding Medina to only 121 yards of total offense, including 5 first-half turnovers. At halftime, this game was 40-0. We'll kind of go over a little bit of Wadsworth's end here, but then we'll toss it over to Noah Jacobson from the Medina aspect. Not much going on their end, but we'll talk to him in just a second. Cooper Gray and Gavin Madigan combined for 190 yards on the ground and 4 touchdowns for the Grizzlies. Jacob Ernest on the defensive end had a pick 6. Tommy Hahn had 2 interceptions. Bryson Hall with a casual 192 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Calix Lemp had 7 receptions for 103 yards, 1 touchdown. I did see over the weekend that Bryson Hall, the quarterback for the Grizzlies, had a visit to Michigan State. So we'll keep that on mind. I'm sure that's going to be first of many Division I visits for him as he continues on in his young but great career so far. Give props to the Wadsworth Grizzlies defense. So far in 3 games, they've only given up 14 points. They are well on their way to looking to get another, at least a share, if not an outright conference championship. They're looking to defend that. North Royalton, another tough loss. I'm sorry, let's go back. I'm sorry, no, I didn't mean to leave you hanging there. Let's go back to get the Medina end of the view from this inter-conference matchup that we had.
Yeah, I just feel like Medina was just outmatched and outnumbered by a really good Wadsworth Grizzlies team. Like you mentioned, their defense only giving up 14 points throughout their first 3 games. So hopefully Medina will really use this game as motivation as they start GCC play starting up in week 4.
Thanks for that, Noah. Sorry about that again. We'll go back to the game slate. North Royalton with another tough loss, 16-6 against North Ridgeville. The Bears competed but came up short in the end, 16-6 loss. This was mostly, and Rob Troutman can chime in here in a little bit, mostly this game was in hand by Zach Barnhart of the Rangers. The only score for the game came late in the 4th when Nolan Klingbeil had a 22-yard touchdown pass. And that was pretty much it for the Bears. They couldn't get much going. It was mostly Ridgeville in this game. Rob, what are your thoughts from the Ridgeville side?
Yeah, well, North Royalton's defense, they stopped Ridgeville 4 punts in the first 5 possessions of this game, but then Cole Miller, the quarterback for North Ridgeville, had a 9-yard run on the final play of the first quarter, and Zach Barnhart, he got the final 3 yards on the first play of the second quarter to score 7-0 there. Both offenses, though, really struggle in this game. North Royalton had 76 total yards, and North Ridgeville only 52 in the first half, so really slow. But the Bears missed a field goal, and actually in this game, the Bears' Cameron Saul had a 75-yard touchdown run called back in this game, and then North Ridgeville, Cole Miller, he had a 70-yard run negated in this game. But too much Rangers as Zach Barnhart got another score in this. He went 80 yards for a score, and it was 13-0 with 8:55 left in the third, and North Ridgeville just took over from there. But it still was a very physical defensive game, but North Ridgeville just made a few more plays than North Royalton in this game.
Thanks, Rob. North Ridgeville improves to 3-0. North Royalton drops to 1-2. Both their losses have they were tough losses that they took. The first to Valley Forge in week 1, and this one in week 3 to North Ridgeville. Another inter-conference matchup between Rob's conference and mine. The Berea Park Titans with a 48-34 win over the Brecksville Bees. This one had a little more offense to it. In fact, both teams went back and forth in the first half of this game. Titans held a 27-20 lead at halftime. But in a game like this, one little mistake can turn the kind of momentum to one way. And I think that mistake was in the first possession of the second half for the Bees, where Nate Henniger threw an interception that led to a Titans score. And Rob, we all know that Berea Midpark is going to have the offense, and I just don't quite know, even know that Nate Henniger, the quarterback of the Bees, went 25 of 38 with 3 touchdowns and 318 yards. Just don't know if the Bees had enough offense to keep up with Berea Midpark.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That interception was by Nick Reese of Berea Midpark, and that was a huge one because on the first play after that, it was Vince Weaver that connected with Tyson Clay on 47 yards, and Berea Midpark, that is their strength, is their offense. I mean, they put up a lot of points, and their defense is a bend but don't break kind of defense, although they gave up 34 points in this game. Sophomore running back Xavier Harden, he led the Titans with 101 yards on 18 attempts, had 2 touchdowns and he provided the first and last score of the game. And, Berea Mid-Park held on for that 48-34 win, but the defense has got to get better for Berea Mid-Park once you start hitting SWC play.
Yeah, and then the second half of that game, Carson Zakbar and Jason Materovich did score for the Bees. It was just not enough. That was their first loss of the season. They dropped to 2-1. Berea Mid-Park improves to 2-1 with the victory. Now we have another inter-conference matchup between the Greater Cleveland Conference and the Natty. Solon gets their first victory of the year, with a 10-7 victory over the Shaker Heights Red Raiders, down 7-0. Solon got a rushing touchdown from Henry Sharpley midway through the third period. Teams battled back and forth, not much on the offensive end. It was one of the best kicker names that we have, I believe, in our coverage area. Jimmer McMeechan nailed a 48-yard field goal with 2 minutes 52 seconds left to seal the game for Solon. Solon did intercept the Shaker Heights pass late in the fourth quarter as they tried to go on the game-winning drive, and that essentially ended the game. Noah, what do you see from Shaker's end on this one? Tough loss for the Red Raiders as they dropped to 1-2 on the season.
Well, I feel like the Red Raiders, they had a chance to either tie or take the lead on their possession after the field goal on that. But 2 Solon sacks really pushed them back as the Comets would then seal it with an interception to get this one. So I feel like Shaker Heights will just use that drive as motivation going into week 4, going up against Medina in Greater Cleveland Conference play starting next week.
Moving on to one of the more exciting offensive showcases this week, Nordonia came away with a 59-46 victory over the Mayfield Wildcats. You would think in a game like this there would be no defense. However, the Nordonia Knights picked off the Mayfield quarterback Danny Diastino, 5 times, including two pick sixes in this one. Both teams combined for 79 first-half points. Nordonia cornerback Stephen Vacult had his best statistical day of the year so far. He was 16 of 21 for 335 yards and 4 touchdowns. Dominic Jackson had a great game for the Knights, 212 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. He also had 2 interceptions on defense, including one of those pick sixes that I mentioned. Connor Wapham added 13 carries, 74 yards, and a touchdown for the Knights. They improved to 3-0. They sit on top of the Natty with that 3-0 record by merely points. They have scored more points than the Grizzlies this year, but they're heading right now for a showcase, I believe, October 10th. Keep your calendars locked into that one. That's Nordonia versus Wadsworth. I think that's going to be a great game. But before we get there, a lot of games have to be played. One more final game in the Natty this week. It was one of our SOT featured games of the week. I happened to be there. It was Twinsburg, and they traveled to Aurora. We're going to fast forward this game into the second half. Now, if you want to look back, the highlights are available on our YouTube page. First half highlights, there was one score in the first half. That was Xavier Board for the Greenmen. He got the Greenmen on the board with a touchdown run. The extra point was no good. It made it 6-0. Then in the second half, there was another score by Xavier Board. The Tigers found themselves down 13-0. The passing game started to get going in the second half of this game. Our Week 1 Mehco Player of the Week, Dylan Fantone, found some grooves as he hit J.D. Okuma and Rob Herndon. The trio hooked up and combined 4 scores and to tie the game up at 13. Yes, there was a mixed extra point in this one to have the score tied at 13. So at 6:56 left in the fourth quarter, Aurora's Quincy John intercepted the Dylan Fantone pass. The Tigers then forced a turnover and down. So late in the fourth, it was back and forth between these two teams. With 2 minutes and 19 seconds left, the Tigers were not able to score in the fourth quarter. So that means that this game was headed into overtime. In the first possession of overtime, it was Luke McCovern who scored for the Greenmen. The extra point was blocked. I can't underestimate how huge that was to have that extra point blocked. Then on the next possession of overtime, Twinsburg's first, Lucas Kinesland was able to score to make the score 19-19. It was Mason Bonner who hit the extra point to win. The Tigers go on to a 20-19 overtime victory over Aurora. Twinsburg 3-0 for the first time since 2010. Sean, this was a really intense game. Both offenses, they were kind of feeling each other out in that first half, but both teams kind of got it going there in the second half.
Yeah, and what I like about your recap there, Josh, is that we focused in on the details of this game. It's not, everyone did with their jobs, but it's those little details. Who wanted it more? Blocked field goals, blocked extra points. That's what made the difference. This game, by all accounts, from what I followed as I was walking up and down the sidelines in Elyria, was pretty much even. I mean, in the second half specifically, it was shot for shot. They score, we score. Twinsburg scores, Aurora scores. And it was who's going to make that crucial mistake or who's going to make that play. Twinsburg made that play, and congratulations to them. They got a hard-fought victory, not only a victory over a very good Aurora team, and let's be honest, Aurora is a very good team, but on the road. And that's a huge, huge victory for them because that kind of gives them a little bit of momentum going into conference play. And look out, Twinsburg, all of a sudden, they're a team to be reckoned with. They're battle-hardened. This battle-hardens a team. So impressive there. And again, I'm still impressed with Aurora. I think obviously they got a test coming up this week, but we'll see, how they respond to this because this is their second loss in 3 weeks, and they need to kind of right the ship here. And unfortunately, they're coming into a storm, and we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned there, Sean, this was the type of game that one little mistake could turn the tide, but it really didn't. I mean, both teams played really well. These were two well-coached teams, and just on that night, the better team for just that moment won the game. And obviously, it's another win for the Natty over the American. Your dog was a big fan of the Natty over the American. Once again, the Natty reigns supreme in
the dog
week
barked
3.
his dinner's ready. That's why, not because the Natty won.
Well, you know what that is? That's the Natty just eating those dubs. Just eating. Just keep eating, Natty. Appreciate it. We'll move on to what's coming up this week. In week 4, we are into conference play. We got Nordonia traveling to Brecksville. Wadsworth will take on North Royalton. Solon will take on Hudson. And then Twinsburg will look to continue their undefeated season as they take on the Stone Monroe Falls Bulldogs. That sets the tone for week 3 in the Natty. We're going to toss it over to Sean so he can talk more about the American.
Well, thank you, Josh. And we'll start off as we always do in alphabetical order. We'll just kind of put a fine point on that. Aurora does fall in overtime 20-19 to Twinsburg. They'll look to rebound in week 4 as they open up conference play. South Range welcomed in Barberton, and they were not a very friendly host as they jumped out to a 34-0 lead at halftime. And it was all South Range all night as they inflicted pain on the Magics. They did end up adding 15 more additional points in the second half to Barberton's 7, but it just wasn't enough as South Range gets a 48-7 victory on the road at Barberton. Copley had to wait and cap off the week 3 on a Saturday, taking on Akron Garfield, but they improved to 2-1 thanks to a 41-0 road victory against Akron Garfield. Copley wide receiver Andrew McKnight finished the game with 120 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. Copley quarterback Dane Winiger did have 3 passing touchdowns in this, all 3 of those to McKnight, and he also kicked in a rushing touchdown as well as Copley improves to 2-1 and with a 41-0 victory. The Cuyahoga Falls Black Tigers hung in as best they could against Southeast in the first half of their game, but it was unable to keep up that pace in the second half with a 29-8 loss. Cuyahoga Falls' their only touchdown came on a 6-yard touchdown run by, I'm going to butcher this name and I'm trying not to, Wasim Mustafa. Again, 6-yard touchdown run.
Great effort, Sean.
Josh Bell would kick in and score the 2-point conversion, but it just wasn't enough as Cuyahoga Falls to 1-2 on the year with a 29-8 loss. Highland traveled in to take on Avon Lake, and Rob, this was a battle that we kind of circled and said this might be a good game, but Unfortunately, business was pretty much handled in this as the Highland Hornets scored 34 points in the first half, and that's all they needed to. And they held Avon Lake to 7 points in that first half, and it pretty much held serve there in the second half. I'll give you some quick stats here. The Hornets do improve to 3-0 on the season. Highland running back and all-world running back Casey Miser did have 20 rushing attempts in this game, 84 yards, and continued his streak of scoring touchdowns in a football game by adding in 1 touchdown. Highland quarterback Grady Gibb had a night of his own. He went 12 of 13 with 171 yards passing and 3 touchdowns in the air. Also kicked in 121 yards rushing and a rush TD on the ground. Gibb did throw touchdown passes to Evan Faust, Lucas Girding, and Dylan Lazar. Unfortunately for Avon Lake, I mean, I don't think anybody saw this coming, Rob. Avon Lake is now 0-3. They did not, I mean, again, let's put this into context. They haven't exactly played, powder puffs these 3 weeks. They've had a pretty tough non-conference schedule, and they capped it off going against a team that really can beat you in any different way. Defensively, they have a great defense. They have a great running game, and now their quarterback got into a rhythm, and that's dangerous now because now you open up the field even more with a very potent Highland attack.
Yeah, Avon Lake, they had 5 turnovers in this game. They had -1 rushing yard in the first half, and really, defensively couldn't stop Highland in the first half. Now give it, Avon Lake had 4 turnovers in the red zone, with the lone score coming for Avon Lake was running back Ezra Jones, who took it in 11 yards out, and that's when the game was tied at 7 in the first half. So Avon Lake, was tied at 1 point, but turnovers, really hurt the Shoremen in this game, and their turnovers led into Highland's points. And whenever you turn the ball over against a really good team like Highland, you're probably not going to win the football game, and that's what happened here. And Avon Lake, is going to start getting into SWC conference play, and hopefully they learn from these 3 games what not to do in some of these, especially with the turnovers.
Absolutely right. And again, you hit it right there on the head, Rob. You cannot give a team like Highland multiple opportunities to score, and because they will take advantage. Moving on, Revere actually kicked off week 3 on Thursday night playing Valley Forge, and Revere, oh boy, they had a good night on the offensive end. Running back I'm again butchering this name, Jaleel Blanchard led the Minutemen with 18 carries, 159 yards, effort, and 2 touchdowns. Revere quarterback Chase Clifford went 4 of 9 passing for 52 yards for 2 touchdowns. Those 2 touchdowns thrown to Nick Hall and Harrison Drevenkar. Again, I'm butchering that name, and I apologize to the Drevenkar family. Defensively, the Minutemen did force 4 fumbles in this game, recovering 2 of them, and each of those leading to points. Elijah Sedor had 2 tackles and a sack in this game. And Ed, you look at a team like Revere, again, they had kind of an unexpected bye in week 2 due to the cancellation of their game. So they were really chomping at the bit to get back on the field, and they wasted no time against Valley Forge.
No, they didn't, Sean. And the Minutemen, to the Valley Forge's credit, they got on the board early, 48-yard touchdown run by Damon Watts on a 10-yard or a 10-play drive, which is what we're used to seeing from Valley Forge in that triple option wing T offense. But as you mentioned earlier, the turnovers were a killer for Valley Forge. I mean, Revere were absolute ball hawks on the defensive end. And when you're able to keep a team like Valley Forge off the field, not only keeping them off the field, but scoring points while they're at it, it just added up to a recipe for disaster for Valley Forge. They got a late touchdown to make it a little bit more respectable, but Revere was ready to play against a pretty physical Valley Forge team. And reading the article, we'll give credit to Cleveland.com on this one. At least I will. Revere came into this game wanting to be the more physical team, and that's the tone they've been trying to set here. And there's no better way to do it against a team like Valley Forge and the type of offense they run.
Absolutely, and again, Revere does improve to 3-1, I believe 2-1 on the season. Our next game is Roosevelt hosting Ellett, and guys, don't look now, but Roosevelt's 2-1 after a 40-20 home victory against Akron Ellett. Roosevelt quarterback Gavin Peeps had himself a monstrous game, going 21 of 28 passing for 240 yards and count them, 4 touchdowns. Roosevelt's running back Keyshawn Talbert had 8 carries for 74 yards and 1 rush TD, and one of those 4 touchdowns from Peeps went to him. He also, speaking of Talbert, kicked in a 101-yard interception return for a touchdown. So, again, he may not have made Player of the Week nominee, but he definitely earned himself some chocolate milk on that one as Kent Roosevelt gets a 40-20 victory to improve to 2-1. Our final game, the Blue Devils of Talmadge hosted Green, and Green made them pay. The Blue Devils were no match for Green in Week 3 as they fell 42-7. Green seized control of the game from the outset, and they really never looked back in this game. Talmadge quarterback Braxton Dente went 5 of 12 passing for 115 yards and threw the only touchdown pass that Talmadge would score in this. That would be to Chad Rosinko, who finished the game with 2 catches for 68 yards and the only Blue Devil touchdown. Let's take a quick look here at what we have on tap. See what I did there? For Week 4 in the Suburban American League, we got Aurora traveling to Highland, and if they got to look to bounce back after a tough loss to Twinsburg. Barberton travels to take on Cuyahoga Falls. Talmadge will take on Copley in a sneaky good game for that one. And all of a sudden, this Revere Roosevelt game has a little bit of meaning here in the American division. So pretty good lineup here for the first week of conference play. Our Suburban League Player of the Week nominee is none other than Roosevelt quarterback Gavin Peeps, going 21 for 28, 240 yards passing, and 4 touchdowns in the game, in the big win over Akron Ellet. Ed, that is all I have for the Suburban League American, and obviously, I mean, when we're talking about the superior Suburban League division, we're talking America. That's why you saved the best for last, right, Josh? Don't answer. You don't need to. Ed, back to you.
You know, when you get the answer you want or you have the last word, you just don't let anyone else talk. And Sean used that well to his advantage.
And I think nothing needs to be said because we all know the right answer. So,
for those of you keeping track at home, the Suburban League Natty has 3 undefeated teams in Wadsworth, Nordonia, and Twinsburg. The Suburban League American Conference has 2 undefeated teams in Highland and Revere. But with cross-division action over, now it's time for some friendly fire within the conference. And there's a lot of great games going on here. And one of those games we may be talking about a little bit later on in the show. Good job out there, Sean and Josh, for the Suburban League. We'll come back to Sean here in a little bit when he goes over some. Actually, he might be coming up here soon when he goes over his game. All right, let's shift over to Noah Jacobson with the Greater Cleveland Conference, and he was at Olmsted Falls in Stronsville. So him and maybe Rob will tag team on that one. But Noah was at that game, and boy, I think he's going to probably save the best for last on that one. He'll get through the rest of it first.
All right, thanks, Ed. And kind of not so good week for Week 3 here in the Greater Cleveland Conference, as we had 2 featured games in this one. We'll get to that later on in the course of this part of the show. Cam McKinley was taking on Cleveland Heights. And Cam McKinley, the Bulldogs just came in, just got the best of the Tigers in this one, as they were able to prevail 34-12. LaMarcus Greenwood, the second, was 17 of 16 for 68 yards. He also had 8 carries for 61 yards and a touchdown. Henry Perryman had 3 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown, as the Bulldogs of Cam McKinley would get a 34-12 win against Cleveland Heights. Euclid was traveling to Hilliard-Davidson, and this game was actually tied at 14-14, but it wasn't enough, as Hilliard-Davidson would get the win 33-20 over Euclid. Lorraine was traveling to Sandusky in this one. Toriano Island actually opened the game with a touchdown in this game, but the biggest thing was the turnovers. Lorraine cost 6 turnovers on the ball, including 2 pick sixes on the ball, as Sandusky will get a 32-20 win against Lorraine. Wadsworth was taking on the Medina, and then Josh can actually chime into this one a little bit after the course. Wadsworth would get the best out of Medina. The biggest thing was the turnover margin, as Medina forced 5 turnovers in the first half. River Blomquist, Medina quarterback, was 17-24 for 104 yards. Wide receiver Sidney Lloyd had 7 catches for 47 yards as Wadsworth to get a 47-0 win over Medina. Josh, just kind of talk about how Wadsworth really dominated this game.
Yeah, when you're looking at a team like Medina, who's kind of a one-dimensional team on offense, passing the ball, that's the kind of offense that Wadsworth can kind of hone in on to and find your weaknesses and force those turnovers. In this game, they forced 5 of them. And they just, as of right now, between the two teams, Wadsworth is just far more talented, a lot more talented, especially at your skill position. So tough loss for Medina, but they'll look to bounce back as they hit into conference play.
All right, thank you, Josh. And St. Ignatius was traveling to Manor. This was Manor's home opener in that. And this was kind of really a back and forth affair between these two teams in that, as Manor would prevail 35-21 against the Wildcats in this game. Quarterback Brogan Jones was 18-23 for 224 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. Wide receiver Justin Hines had 6 catches for 102 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Logan Burrow had 6 catches for 39 yards and 2 touchdowns. And defensive lineman Kenny Hamilton had 2 TFLs, a sack, and 4 tackles, as Manor would get this 35-21 win against St. Ignatius. Shaker Heights was traveling to Solon. This was kind of really a close game between these two teams, but Solon was able to prevail with a 10-7 win against Shaker Heights. Rayhan Johnson actually had a 13-yard touchdown in this game. And Shaker Heights really had a chance to either tie or take the lead on their final possession when Solon had a chance to take the lead, but the Comets had 2 sacks, which pushed the Red Raiders back, and then the Comets would seal the game with an interception as Solon would get a 10-7 win against Shaker Heights. Josh, kind of talk about how Solon was able to really control the game and able to finish off with an interception to win it.
No, I just don't. I think just both teams weren't able to really get anything going on offense. It was just kind of a back and forth. This is where you have, teams that are struggling to find their ways both offensively. When you can struggle on offense, you're trying to find that identity, what works, what doesn't. That's when your defense comes and really steps up and make big plays. And in order to get their first victory this year, 2025, Solon got a big interception late in the fourth quarter to seal the win.
All right, thank you, Josh. And we had 2 featured games in the Greater River Conference between the GCC and the SWC. We'll first start off with Sean as Brunswick was taking on Elyria in this one. And Sean, we'll just take this to you and see what you perfected from the game of how Brunswick really dominated this one.
Yeah, it wasn't if you're an Elyria Pioneers fan, it wasn't a good night for you because Brunswick came with a purpose, and that was to show that they are a team to be reckoned with. And I may have made some certain claims about here last week about how these two teams were matched up pretty equally on paper, and I believe if you go to our YouTube page, Coach Carter from Brunswick used that as a little bit of bulletin board material, and it worked out pretty well for the Brunswick Blue Devils because they put a whooping on Elyria, 49-0. Couple things stood out for me, in this game, particularly was Brunswick's ability to take advantage of a Elyria defense that seemed a little bit, out of place. Specifically, quarterback Sean Barnett. 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. The first one was a beautiful run up the middle, pretty much untouched. His second touchdown in the first half, you got to go back and watch this because it's a 40-yard quarterback keeper that I'm pretty sure nobody even came close to touching him from when he pulled it down to when he crossed the goal line. This was very impressive. Not to be outdone, Gavin Bullock had 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. Eli Nichols and Noah Poindexter also contributed rushing touchdowns in this game. It was all done pretty much on the ground. They didn't really need a pass in this game because they were dominating the line of scrimmage of Elyria. On the flip side, the defense was very impressive in this game, specifically number 6. And I want to point this out because I spoke with Luke Durbin, the assistant coach for Brunswick, after the game, and he mentioned that Elijah Clement is a listed as a defensive back on the sheet, right? But he has a weird labrum tear that doesn't allow him to lock his arms out. which really prevents him from playing the defensive back position. So what do? They move him down to defensive end. And what does he do in this game? He wreaked havoc. I don't know if Antonio Pride, the quarterback of Elyria, knew who this guy was to start the game, but he was calling out where 6 was pretty much on the second series, because this guy was everywhere, wreaking havoc, and he wasn't the only one. The defense from Brunswick was very impressive, shutting down Elyria in every stage of the game. They never got past the 50 in the first half of this game, and it was only when they were at a running clock that Antonio Pride got some things back. But what the problem with Elyria was, Rob, and we could talk about this, was any sort of momentum they would get, any sort of progress they would get, the penalties would take 2 steps back. And I spoke with one of the coaches from Elyria prior to the game. They did mention they did have a lot of injuries along the offensive and defensive line, and it really reared its head on the offensive side of the ball for Elyria, as Antonio Pride Jr. did his best, but he was running for his life all night, as Brunswick gets a 49-0 victory in this game. It was very, very impressive of Brunswick, and they are wrapping up their non-conference schedule, and they open up with a pretty tough hill to climb. But you gotta love the feeling if you're Brunswick going into this after exercising some demons, because they lost some close games in the first 2 weeks of the season. They were competitive, they just didn't go their way, and they finally released some of that anger out on Elyria, and we saw the results. Rob, what do you think from Elyria here?
Yeah, they had some injuries in this game, but that's been kind of their story this year is, versus Lorraine, they had a good first half, and then the second half was a different story, and penalties seemed to always ruin solid drives. They get a good drive, and then a penalty stalls it, and that's kind of what they did in this game. They had a good opening drive, but then it stalled. Brunswick came right back down and scored, and then it kind of knocks them out a little bit. And they're going through some issues with injuries and things like that, so I think players are playing out of position. But Antonio Pride, he has had a great year, and I got to give him credit for still playing really hard for Elyria and trying to do a lot with this team and try to compete in there. And it's been tough sledding so far, but just keep playing hard and good things will happen. And obviously this was a tough one, but Brunswick took advantage of it, and they held Elyria to 168 yards with 43 of those coming on the final play of the game. So give credit to Brunswick. They had a 28-point quarter, and Elyria is going to hopefully try to bounce back and get their first win of the season next week in SWC play.
All right, thank you guys. As Brunswick were able to get a 49-0 win against Elyria. And last but not least, Olmsted Falls was taking on Strongsville, and this was my featured game of the week in the Greater Cleveland Conference. And this first half was no joke. I mean, this was Olmsted Falls took a 21-14 lead against Strongsville in that. And then kind of really a slow second half, as both defenses really dominated really the second half in this game, and that Olmsted Falls really had a chance to really win the game, and that but Aiden O'Malley's kick was no good. As this game was settled into overtime, Olmsted Falls won the toss and elected to play defense, and then Strongsville, they had a chance to make it the lead, but it got blocked in that, and then Olmsted Falls really had a chance to really win the game, and then a second chance from Aiden O'Malley would give him a game winner at a 24-21 overtime victory for the Bulldogs. And what a game this was between these two teams. Quarterback Cam Pest for Olmsted Falls was 4 of 8 for 81 yards and a touchdown. He also had 10 carries for 66 yards. Running back Owen Singleton, who was our player of the week last week, and that he had 16 carries for 70 yards and a touchdown. Logan Connolly had 9 carries for 84 yards. He also had 2 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown. Strongsville quarterback Nick Carosellia had 3 touchdowns, 2 passing and 1 rushing. His 2 passing touchdowns were from Jeremiah Petit and Alex Espe. He had a 47-yard rushing touchdown. And Olmsted Falls will get a 24-21 lead against Strongsville. What a game this was. And we'll move forward into our Week 4 schedule into the Greater Cleveland Conference. Mentor will be traveling to Brunswick. Strongsville will be traveling to Cleveland Heights. Lorraine will be traveling to Euclid, and Shaker Heights will be traveling to Medina. And their GCC Player of the Week for Week 3 is none other than Brunswick Blue Devils quarterback Sean Barnett, who was 3 of 4 for 61 yards, had 4 carries for 75 yards, and 2 touchdowns. His 2 touchdowns were from 11 yards and 40 yards. And that is the Week 3 recap and Week 4 schedule in the Greater Cleveland Conference.
Hey, Noah, great work there. A little bit of assist with Sean from the Brunswick-Leary game as well. Men are continuing on their winning ways. St. Ignatius, they're 0-3, but if you look on their schedule, I think there's maybe 1 or 2 losses so far on their schedule. It's just they're in a tough it's a tough slate that they play, but that's life as a major private school here. So certainly no shame for a team like Mentor. And Jackson Farley talked about it last week on our show. How important it was for Mentor to play Ignatius and show out as they did as well. Big win for Brunswick, getting one in the win column there in emphatic fashion. Strongsville, Strongsville Olmsted Falls. What a game that was. That was a battle of teams that are very close geographically that don't normally play each other. So it's to a certain extent, I'm glad the SWC has gone down to 7 conference games, because now we're starting to see them play more games geographically with their neighbors or teams that are close to them. They kind of ran the gamut with Brunswick so far and Strongsville. So it's been really good to see some of the Southwestern Conference teams play the GCC more consistently. Speaking of the SWC, let's go over to Rob Troutman to go over the Southwestern Conference.
Hey, thanks, Ed. And we talked about a lot of these games already, but we'll go over them here as Berea Mid-Park improves to 2-1 with a 48-34 win. Titans running back Arpen to Mang rushed for 13 yards and a touchdown, and other good plays. Nick Reese had a touchdown and a pick. Vince Weaver threw a touchdown to Tyson Clay and also to Nick Reese. And then sophomore running back Xavier Harden led with 101 yards on 18 attempts and 2 touchdowns. Again, the Titans 48-34 winners in a shootout there. Elyria Catholic traveled to Midview, and Midview comes away with a 41-20 winner there. They're 3-0. Elyria Catholic at 0-3, and it was running back Marcus McMahon. He had some big plays early, but EC decided to try and stop the run. They stacked the box in a lot of this game, but that opened up other weapons for Midview as quarterback Shea Williams. He's an EC transfer from last year. He was pretty efficient on this night, going 12 for 16, 203 yards, and 3 touchdowns. 2 of the touchdowns went to junior receiver Brennan Newton of 23 and 47 yards. Newton finished with 3 catches for 85 yards. And the Middies, they kept scoring. It was Zach Williams. He hit Zachary Wallace on a 25-yard touchdown. It was 13-0. They missed the extra point. And before half, EC would score to make it 13-7, but then Midview would answer with a 71-yard touchdown to the end zone for junior Jace Wright. And McMahon then, after that, would score on a 21-yard touchdown run. All of a sudden, the lead was 41-7 in this game. And our guest coming up at 8:30, Marcus McMahon finished with 77 yards and 2 touchdowns on 20 carries as Midview wins 41-20 to improve to 3-0, and he's had an absolute great season. Highland dominates Avon Lake 34-7. We talked about this one. Avon Lake 5 turnovers, 4 turnovers in the red zone. It was Ezra Jones with the lone score for Avon Lake as they fall to 0-3. North Ridgeville, North Royalton. North Ridgeville improves to 3-0 rather, with a 16-6 win. And this game was pretty close in a defensive battle early on. Zach Barnhart had some touchdowns. Cole Miller played well in this game, but both offense struggled early on in the first half before North Ridgeville took over. Again, North Ridgeville with a 16-6 win, improving to 3-0. All right, let's make our way to Amherst as Amherst took on North Olmsted, and this was all Amherst winning 34-0. They improved to 2-1 on the season. North Olmsted at 0-3, And not much to say on the North Olmsted side, but Cy Christensen, also the SWC Player of the Week. He had an outstanding game. He had 265 yards, 9 of 9 passing, 3 touchdowns in the game, and also had a run as well here. He's not afraid to run the football, but he didn't really need to, as a lot of scoring here. You have Cale Charles with a score from Cy Christensen, Peyton Laybacker with a touchdown, David Dudziak, Peyton Gillis, and 2 touchdowns by Dudziak there, as again a 34-0 winner by Amherst as they improve to 2-1. Brunswick and Elyria, we just went over. Brunswick dominates 49-0, and Elyria trying to get through some injuries there. Now, my game of the week, and I'll put up this video. Let me find it here. As it was pretty impressive to see Avon take on Glenville. And this was a game that kind of went back and forth. The Eagles, they marched down the field 65 yards and 76 yards on the first 2 possessions, and they took a 13-6 lead after 1 quarter of play. A lot of scoring early on. After a 37-yard catch by Grant Barr, the wide receiver for Avon in Tar Blooders territory, senior quarterback Blake Elder, he connected with Dylan Lucan on a 7-yard scoring play in this game. And that was a touchdown that, again, went in Avon's way there. Cam Wendell would score in the first half, but also scored in the second half, and he's been unbelievable so far this season, scoring touchdowns all over. But Glenville in this game had 17 penalties that cost them 155 yards, and they were at crucial times. Avon, when the tide seemed to be turning, Glenville stopped them on what looked like Avon was going to have to punt the football. Instead, it was a penalty and gave Avon the first down. But Glenville, they would pull within a single score when Davon McDougal scored on a 5-yard touchdown run, followed by a 2-point conversion, and that was with 10:43 left. 20-14 was the score. Avon quarterback Blake Elder, he was 13 of 25 for 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did respond by leading a 11-play, 60-yard drive that ended with him throwing a 22-yard touchdown pass to Finn Jordonic, and then throwing a 2-point conversion pass to Grant Barr. It was 28-14. A safety for Avon is what made the score 28-16, and Avon would run out the clock as they took it and got the win, 28-16. They improved to 2-1, and this is a big one after their loss in Florida. Very happy to get on the winning side of it there. So Avon, a big winner there versus Glenville. Olmsted Falls and Strongsville, we talked about a little bit as it went into overtime. And I know Noah was at this game. Just a crazy good game that Olmsted Falls got from a kicker, Aiden O'Malley, with the game-winning field goal. And, the Browns could use a kicker, but Aiden O'Malley came through for Olmsted Falls in the clutch when all the pressure was on him. As Olmsted Falls improves to 2-1 in this game, Strongsville falls to 2-1 in overtime. 24-21 winner, Olmsted Falls. The featured player, SWC Player of the Week, the Mehco Player of the Week, is Cy Christensen, 9 of 9 passing for 265 yards and 3 touchdowns. Just a great week for him and leading that Avon team to a 2-1 record so far this season. And now let's take a look at SWC in Week 4 as we have some good games come up. Berea, Midpark, and Amherst. That should be a great game, and I believe Amherst is opening their new stadium in this one. So Berea, Midpark takes on Amherst. Avon travels to North Ridgeville. Battle of unbeatens in that game. Both teams 3-0. Avon Lake and Midview should be a good one. And Elyria and Olmsted Falls wrap up the Southwestern Conference for Week 4.
Yeah, great job there, Rob. Awesome game between Glenville and Avon. Avon, kind of smarting from their loss in against Spruce Creek in Florida, but get back on the right track with a 2-time recent state champion in Glenville. Obviously, a tough program there. We're really going to start seeing the cream rise to the top as the Macho Man like to say, between Avon and North Ridgeville. Lots of points on the board there. We'll see if Avon Lake can get on the board against a very tough Midview team. Leary Olmsted Falls. We'll see if Leary can follow up. Get some of those players back that Sean had mentioned. Brigham Park and Amherst. I agree with you. That's gonna be a great game. I think that's gonna be, lots of points and store there.
So you think 7-6 is the final in that one?
I would be shocked.
I me too.
Shocked. No doubt about that. All right, great job, Rob, as always there. And we will shift over now to the Cleveland West Conference. And good, lots of activity here. And the Cleveland West Conference is a little unique. They didn't really play a whole lot of teams that are within our area. Revere and Valley Forge. We'll go through that one real quick. We talked about that one earlier as part of the Suburban League American Conference recap. Valley Forge, got an early touchdown, but they couldn't hang on to the ball. Revere, very aggressive defense, and they were able to overtake Valley Forge. Damon Watts led all rushers with 80 yards, but most of that was on his 48-yard touchdown run to start the game. It's a great job by Revere there. Valley Forge, the score of that game, 34-14. Valley Forge drops to 1-2, and we'll talk about where they're going here later. Revere is 2-0. They open up American Conference play against Kent Roosevelt. All right, Bay Village versus Firelands, and a game was played here. Bay all over Firelands. It was 42-0. Senior Rocker Roditerio had a 4-yard touchdown, 5-yard touchdown run, then followed by senior Charlie Rogers in the first quarter. Quarterback Patrick Cleary threw 2 touchdowns to tight end Michael Foreman, covering 14 and 3 yards. Cleary also threw a touchdown pass to Ethan George, and then Ethan Tulby wrapped up the scoring for Bay. Cleary finished 16 of 21 passing for 186 yards and 3 touchdowns. Bay is 2-1. Firelands will open up LCL play at they'll be hosting Brookside next week. Tiffin, Columbian, and Buckeye. I was looking forward to seeing how Buckeye was going to play in this game. Columbian, the record may not show it, but they're a very tough team from the Tiffin area. But the Bucks, they threw everything they had them early. They had a 28-3 lead. Senior quarterback Turner Delata threw 2 touchdown passes to tight end wide receiver Jacob Snyderburn for 18 and 53 yards respectively. Braden Sopko rushed for 2 touchdowns. The Tornadoes did not go away. They rattled off the next 21 points, 3 touchdown passes by Logan Gooding. The Bucks answered with a 15-yard touchdown run by Ryan Wilhelm, and they hang on for a 35-30 win over Tiffin Columbian. Senior quarterback Turner Delata was 9 of 16 passing for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jacob Snyderburn, 2 passes caught for 71 yards and 2 touchdowns. Liam Phillips, Braden Sopko, and Ryan Wilhelm all ran for at least 80 yards. Phillips had over 100 yards himself. So tremendous team effort by Buckeye. Great coverage, as always, by the Medina County Gazette. Buckeye is undefeated at 3-0, and Tiffin Columbian will travel to Bishop Watterson. Harvey and Lakewood, this was a really good game. Mostly dominated by Lakewood early. They opened up the scoring with a 40-yard touchdown pass from freshman quarterback Otto Wilhelmi to Nick Hart. Cavante Swain followed up with a 3-yard touchdown run for a 14-0 Lakewood lead. The Rangers intercepted Harvey as they were going in to score. Next play, a 97-yard touchdown pass from Wilhelmi to Lucas Stoll, a 21-0 lead with minutes left in the first quarter. Harvey did score a touchdown, but that was followed up by Wilhelmi with his 3rd touchdown pass to lineman Riley Verteber for a 10-yard touchdown run, or 10-yard touchdown. Harvey did score twice to make it respectable, one of which was at the final horn. And it is a Lakewood 28-20 victory over Harvey. Otto Wilhelmi, the freshman quarterback, 3 touchdown passes to 3 different Rangers. Lakewood is 2-1, and they're going to hit the road for the first time this season. And we'll find out who against who here in a minute. Harvey is 1-2. They will host Ashtabula Lakeside. Geneva took on Normandy, and they were really rude guests in Parma. 63-0. There's really not a whole lot to talk about here. Again, this is the ultimate definition of a game being played, and Normandy they're gonna try to do their best in the next game. I think we can just leave it at that. Similarly, North Olmsted also played a game against Amherst. The main highlight from this game, the Eagles did have 123 rushing yards by Amir Silmi, but beyond that, not a whole lot for the Eagles here. North Olmsted remains winless, and Amherst will play. They will play Berea Med Park next week. Rocky River took on Uniontown Lake, and this is another matchup I was looking forward to. Lake's a really good team out of the Federal League, and this game did not disappoint. The Pirates got behind early though. They spotted the Blue Streaks a 20-0 lead. Ryan Taylor scored on a 10-yard run for Rocky River. Another touchdown by Uniontown gave them a 27-7 lead, but Taylor found pay dirt again from a yard out to cut the lead to 27-14. Taylor then found Rowan Kennedy for a 42-yard touchdown pass to cut the lead to 27-20. Lake did score again to extend their lead back out. Then Taylor hit junior wide receiver Tristan Hughes for an 80-yard touchdown pass. 34-28 deficit early in the fourth, but the teams traded punts, and Lake was able to run the clock out. And Uniontown Lake with a 34-28 victory over Rocky River. Ryan Taylor, the senior quarterback, completed 18 of 25 passes for 295 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also rushed 18 times for 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tristan Hughes led the receivers with 7 catches for 145 yards and a touchdown. Rocky River drops to 2-1. Uniontown Lake is 3-0. They will start Federal League play against Massillon Perry. A little bit of love for the defense here, too. Jeff Maslar led the defense with 11 tackles. Michael Beebe blocked a field goal attempt, and Joshua Starika recovered a fumble. All right, we already went through Revere and Valley Forge, so we're good there. Westlake and Warrensville Heights. This was a good game. There's a lot of fireworks here. But the Demons did take it to the Tigers. They built a 35-6 lead. Quarterback Mo Abelhadi threw 4 touchdown passes in the first half. He hit junior Wes Urich for 2 touchdowns, senior William Bierfeld, and senior wide receiver Stephen Trowbridge. Nathan Myers intercepted a Warrensville Heights pass, and then he was rewarded with a 1-yard touchdown run. The Tigers did put on a spirited comeback, but they ultimately fell short. Warrensville Heights falls to Westlake 42-27. Mo Abelhadi passed for 215 yards and 5 touchdowns. That is good enough to be the CWC Player of the Week nominee for the Mehco Custom Printing Player of the Week contest. Westlake improves to 2-1, and Warrensville Heights, I believe, is 1-2, but I need to check my numbers on that one. All right, shifting over to week 4 here real quick. In conference play, Bay Village will take on Normandy to open up their conference slate. North Olmsted will take on Buckeye. Lakewood will hit the road for the first time. They'll take on Westlake. Valley Forge will travel to Rocky River. The only thing I'll really talk about here real quick, North Olmsted 0-3. Their opponents are all SWC opponents. They have 1 loss between them, between Midview, North Ridgeville, and Amherst. That's a tough non-conference slate for a team that used to be in that conference. And it's not getting any easier by playing Buckeye, but then the schedule might soften a little bit, and we'll see if they can get on a run similar to what they did last year. What I will say, they had experience with Tommy Horsfall, Matthew Chalkwater, and Michael Passafiumi. They all graduated this year, so they got some young guys trying to make a name for themselves for Coach Brediger, and we'll see if the Eagles can get off the schneid there. But Buckeye right now, they're humming. They played real good, a good non-conference slate so far. Cloverleaf is 2-1. That was their first victory. A really good Amherst team, and Tiffin Columbia, and they're going to score some computer points for Buckeye. It's going to work out real well for them later here as well. All right, we are going to take a very quick break, and when we come back, we will have Midview running back Marcus McMahon joining us here. He's had a great start to the season. We'll ask him about his start to the season, as well as Midview's 3-0 non-conference start. And after that, we'll go over the Mehco Custom Printing Player of the Week contest. and then we will wrap up with where we are going next week. All right, stick around for a word from our sponsors. This is Sports on Tap's coverage of the high school football season, Week 3, presented by Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance. We'll be right back.
And elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com.
It's all about the deal at Brunswick Auto Mart. Save big this month with deals like this. Don't miss the Make This the Summer event and lease a new 2025 Ram 1500 Night Edition Crew Cab 4x4 with heated side mirrors, parking sensors, backup cam, Apple CarPlay, and lane departure warning for just $319 a month. Brunswick Auto Mart. Car buying made truly simple.
Welcome back to Sports on Tap. This is a high school football recap show for Week 3 of the high school football season, presented by Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance. You got to hear about him and all of our awesome sponsors prior to just now. Make sure you stick around after the show for another quick word from our sponsors as well. We just went through the recaps for the Greater Cleveland Conference, the Suburban League, the Cleveland West Conference, and the Southwestern Conference. A little bit later, we'll go through the Mehco Custom Printing Player of the Week contest on our Twitter page at SOT Podcasts. But for now, we are joined by senior running back from Midview. His name is Marcus McMahon. He has had a fantastic start to the season. Just about 500 yards on the ground on 67 carries, 7 touchdowns on the ground, 1 very long touchdown reception as well. He's a wrestler. He's a sprinter. He's got a lot going on, and we're happy he's joining us tonight. Marcus McMahon joins us tonight. Marcus, how you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
We're great. We're great. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Big, a real good non-conference slate for you guys. Obviously 3-0, always a good way to start the season. Talk about the preseason. The process from ending last year to where you guys are this year, as far as yourself and as far as how the team's built themselves up to where you guys are at right now.
I would say last year we weren't happy losing first round in the playoffs against Padua, and just losing some winnable games in our conference as well also gave us something to look forward to next season, kind of giving us some motivation moving on to next year, and just giving us that extra edge we need, and also just having a lot of competition during before the season and all that, having scrimmages with different teams and all that type of good stuff.
Marcus, thank you so much for taking the time joining me out of your night. And man, what a start you have. Back-to-back 3-0 starts, rushing for almost 500 yards and 7 touchdowns. But just kind of talk about how the offensive line has really paved the way for you, having those kinds of numbers so far throughout the first 3 games.
It's really sweet. They're all doing their job, and especially my receivers as well. When plays get outside, my receivers are still blocking, so that's really, really helpful to just everybody on the offensive team. It's just all thanks to them, I would say.
Marcus, we look at the start of the season, and as Ed mentioned, it's a pretty good non-conference schedule. You guys are playing a lot of tough teams. Coming into the season, you said it yourself, you weren't happy with the way things have ended, and you this being your senior year, what type of ownership or leadership did you personally feel like you had to kind of take as that senior running back and coming into this season? Was there anything that you did differently coming into this season that maybe now that you're a senior and you're a leader on the team that you really wanted to focus on?
Just honestly just trying to enforce what Midview is, just running the ball hard, showing them who we are. Just we're not a soft team. We're always trying to just be a hard-nosed football team. And yeah.
Marcus, can you kind of talk about how Coach Armstrong has kind of developed the culture? He's been, the head coach now for a little while now, and kind of your growth along with the team's growth kind of coincided with each other. Now you're finally having some success. So can you just talk about how the program has, the culture has built up over the past, couple seasons and led to what has been so far a successful start to the 2025 season?
Yeah, ever since Armstrong took over, it's just been a much better atmosphere, very, very positive. Everybody's helping each other out, lifting each other up, and it's just nobody's out for each other. It's kind of everybody's, we're all teammates here. It's like a brotherhood, I would say, and we're all trying to make each other better every day.
Marcus, I know last year you guys were kind of a two-headed monster. I know you had some other running backs in the mix with you, and this year it's you in the backfield. You're taking over that senior leadership, and you've done an amazing job. How nice is it to have kind of another offensive weapon with Shea Williams, who can pass, but he obviously can run too, and you've been running, and they've been creating holes. How nice is it to have a quarterback that can kind of be a little bit mobile, and then it opens you up to run the football?
Yeah, it's really nice. Him being able to run the ball as well, it kind of gives them something else to worry about as well. I'm always not going to get the ball. Shea can always run it too, so it's kind of they got to worry about both of us.
We're talking with senior running back from Midview, Marcus McMahon. Marcus, we talked a little bit before we came on the air. You're a multi-sport athlete. Now, football is your favorite sport, but you also wrestle and you run sprints as well. We talked to other athletes and coaches as well who strongly encourage the being multi-sport athletes. For you, what does it mean being a multi-sport athlete, and how does that help? How does it help you for your football specifically?
I think overall for wrestling, I would say it helps being wrestling is also really tough, and I feel like it just really helps transferring over to football, just being the toughest guy out there, not giving up. You got just push through the game, and then track just is like really helps with like your overall athleticism, like getting your speed up, your jump, and just all that type of stuff. So I think they're both well-rounded sports that help you out with football a lot.
You know, Marcus, looking into the first 3 games of the season, just kind of talk about what your guys' mentality has been like from the start of the season to now, just finishing off at 3-0 right now.
Well, obviously we want to keep it going. So we got Avon Lake this week, so we just want to try to keep winning as much as we can, and try not to let down on the gas and just keep going, I would say.
Well, you guys are definitely doing a great job of that. Again, off to a 3-0 start, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I have to be biased here as one of the only guys that did wrestle in high school. They did not let me run the ball too much, Marcus, because again, they don't let centers run the ball as much as I would like. But I also think, do you find that that wrestling also allows you to keep your leverage a little bit while you're running? Because some of the things that I've noticed, especially with running backs who have that wrestling background, it kind of creates an opportunity to kind of keep your balance a little bit more out there on that field. Do you find that that's something that has gotten better, or is something you can rely on a little bit more when you're playing football because of that wrestling background?
Yeah, I feel like wrestlers definitely know like their center of like gravity a lot better than people that are non-wrestlers. Like how to balance a lot better, taking a hit, not falling over after a single hit, and like that sort of stuff.
Quick question, Marcus. You're one of the seniors on the team. Naturally on a high school football team, the seniors are kind of looked at as leaders for the team. If you could describe yourself, what kind of leader are you? Are you more vocal? Are you more lead by example, or do you kind of let others just take the rein and you do your thing because your thing can lead to success?
I would say I'm more of a lead by example. I'm really not the loudest, but I'm definitely not the quietest. So I would definitely say I lead by example and not by voice.
Well, Marcus, you play Avon Lake. You get in a Southwestern Conference play coming up here this week. Don't give too much away here, but after watching and getting into the film about Avon Lake, they're 0-3, but they have some talent on that team, and they play really hard. And really in SWC play, you can throw the records out the window because a lot of teams, I feel like, compete are on the same level here. What do you know about Avon Lake, about some of their talent and some of the players on that Avon Lake Shoreman team?
I mean, just overall, they're a well-rounded, pretty good football team. They got great receivers, good running back. They got a good O-line, and their defense looks pretty good as well. So it'll be a tough game for us. And they've played some pretty hard teams, and they're being 0-3 doesn't. They're not a loser. They're not a losing team. They're just played tough competition their first 3 games.
You know what? He's a pro at this media stuff. He's giving me 0 bulletin board material, and that honestly, that's how we want it on this show. So, Marcus, we appreciate your time. Best of luck to you for the rest of the season. Good luck this week against a very tough Avon Lake, and definitely good luck to you looking even more further in your wrestling and your track season as well. Hopefully you stay healthy and you're able to make a big impact for Midview on all those sports.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, Marcus. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
That is senior running back from Midview, Marcus McMahon. Huge start to the season, not only for him, but also the Midview Middies. They have a real tough battle here coming up to open their Southwestern Conference schedule for 2025, trying to avenge a loss last year to Avon Lake. And he's exactly right. Avon Lake, the record says 0-3, but you look at who they've played, and not only have they played them tough, but they've played some stud teams here. So and it doesn't get any easier getting into the Southwestern Conference. But focusing mostly more on Midview. Coach Armstrong has built a pretty good culture there. Last year they happened to run into a record-setting running back for Padua in the playoffs, having dropped from Division II to Division III. And if things continue on as they are, there's a couple of Cleveland West teams that might be waiting for him in the playoffs in Division III, Region 10 that I would love to see come to fruition if that were to be the case. But great start to the season for Marcus and the Midview Middies. All right, let's shift over to we'll go to Josh and Rob. They usually tag team this. Let's go for the Mehco Custom Printing Player of the Week contest. Again, a reminder of our nominees from the Southwestern Conference. It was Amherst quarterback Cy Christensen. From the Suburban League, Kent quarterback Gavin Peeps. The Cleveland West Conference, Westlake quarterback Mo Abdelhadi, and from the Greater Cleveland Conference, Brunswick quarterback Sean Barnett. All right, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Yeah, and first of all, I'd like to apologize to Mo by putting the poll up. We mistakenly misspelled his last name, so we had to correct that. So we do apologize for that in advance. But, another my bad on the poll this week, fellas, is I actually had the poll close out a day earlier than expected. However, we had a record number of votes on this one, so I think Cy Christensen did a heck of a job campaigning. A lot of Amherst folks went out to the polls, or actually just on X, because Cy Christensen won with 61, almost 62% of the almost 3,000 votes that we had this week. Sean Barnett of Brunswick did finish in second place, Gavin Peeps in third, and then followed up by Mo from Westlake. So congratulations to Cy Christensen. He is our Mehco Custom Printing Week 3 Player of the Week this week. Looking forward to seeing who's going to have a great game and who's going to be the nominee, one of our 4 nominees from each of our conferences in Week 4.
Yeah,
that is back-to-back wins for the Southwestern Conference there, Rob. So get on you there. And we did we'll peel the curtain back a little bit. We did joke about the number of votes that have that were registered. If for some reason someone decided to use a bot, we are flattered that someone took the time to use a bot for our poll. We very much appreciate that.
Or the other possibility, Ed, is that there's just nothing else going on in Amherst, which I flatly refuse that. There's a lot going on in Amherst. Amherst is a fun, bustling town, so that was my only other thought.
Guys, you know what they say, if it's on the internet, it has to be true. So I think what was going on in Amherst is they were going on Sports on Tap X page, and they're going to vote for our Mehco Custom Printing Player of the Week poll.
That's right.
So whoever we nominate next from Amherst, we might as well just forward you the prize package right away, pretty quick there. So congratulations to Cy Christensen from Amherst, the second straight Southwestern Conference Mehco Custom Printing Player of the Week. All right, we're going to wrap things up with where we are going to be for Week 4. I believe we have a couple games spoken for already, so whoever wants to start can have at it.
I'll start because
I'll
go because I'm excited for this. You know, Sean talks it up the whole time that the Suburban League American is the premier cream of the crop. We've already mentioned that division in the Suburban League. I will have to see it for myself. I'm going to travel to Copley this Friday, and I'm going to watch the Talmadge Blue Devils take on the Copley Indians in what should be a very, very good matchup. They're going to have to live up to the last game that I did this past week, Twinsburg Aurora, but I think they're going to well up to that challenge, and I think it's going to be a good job. So I'll be traveling to Copley as Talmadge takes on Copley this Friday.
Well, guys, no better week to start the GCC than me headed back to my alma mater in Medina. So for Week 4, I will be headed back to my alma mater in Medina, where Shaker Heights at 1-2 will be taking on 1-2 Medina. A pair of 1-2 teams that are not up to the best of starts, but it's like high school football. Anything can happen in any night, and I feel like this game is going to entail with a bunch of nobodies that nobody is really talking about with a bunch of these players, and I'm really excited about this matchup because it could be a very close game, and we're going to see who's going to make the big time play in the right moment, and that's why I'm looking forward to this game, and I'm looking forward to really heading back to my alma mater, Medina. So that's where I'll be, Shaker Heights and Medina, to start the GCC in Week 4.
Well, you know it's going to be a big day, big night in Medina when Noah Jacobson heads back to the field. Sports
that's
on
right.
Tap. It's no coincidence that we get our highest number of views from the great city of Medina when Noah Jacobson's back in town.
Dr. Hoops going back to where it all started. I'm sure No, are you signing autographs before the game and stuff? Like, what time you get there?
He better not be. He needs to be working. He needs to be getting them. He needs to be getting them likes, homie. You sign autographs after the game. We're there to work.
There he is. That's right, buddy.
Speaking of work,
much like the not perceived bias that three of us who, for the very first time we are mentioning, went to Brunswick. Noah also has the same for Medina, who we are also mentioning for the first time has went to Medina.
Hey, speaking of that, Sean, have you done a Vandalia update?
I know. I'm waiting for those, baby.
I have not. They actually they fell to a tough Zenith team last week. They are 2-1.
Aviators.
They're rolling along a little bit. Go get up, Aviators. Coach Geets got them playing well, but again, Zenith is a tough team. They ran into a bit of a buzzsaw on that last week, but they'll look to bounce back. I believe they start conference play. It's hard to keep track because my high school has changed conference names, I think 12 times in the last 10 years, because apparently they like changing the name down there. I don't know what the deal is. But I'm always keeping track of my fellow Aviators. But we talk about work, and we got to know where I'm going. Apparently, I'm kind of a big deal whenever I say where I'm going because they use it for bulletin board material. So I'm doing it this week. I am going to go check out. I'm going to take a stroll down Cleveland West Conference way. A game that's piqued my interest is this Lakewood team that basically has spent the entire 3 weeks at home. They get their first road test against a team in Westlake that had a very good road trip last week against Warrensville Heights. So I am interested, and I will be in Westlake to watch the Lakewood Rangers take on the Westlake Demons. But you know where you can see all of our games and all of the highlights? That's on our YouTube channel. That's following us on X. That's following us on Threads, on Instagram, on TikTok, on any other social media platform, because I say this every week and I'm not kidding around. It's the best high school football coverage in the land. And I say that knowing full well I hate the nickname The Land. But I'll say it anyway because I enjoy saying The Land when it comes to talk about our coverage. It is second to none. We are out there. We're taking videos. I'm pretty sure Rob almost caught a pass last week. I don't know what's happening.
Baby.
But hey, we're there. We're out there. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that likes button. Hit that notification bell. Subscribe to us so you get updates when we go live and when we have our latest highlight videos updated pretty quickly on Friday nights. Guys, I'm excited to go out to Westlake. I love going out to Westlake. I love that atmosphere. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, we had a ton of views on social media on some of the plays we had. I know our TikTok channel had over 30,000 views from a play in Avon where everybody seemed to know that the ball hit the ground on Grant Barr's one catch. I said, what a great catch. The ref confirmed it was a catch. I put it was a catch. Everybody seems to think the ball hit the ground, and you can go on our TikTok and see for yourself. To me, I think it might have hit the ground, but hey, it was confirmed to catch.
Rob might do one of those fancy TikTok dances if we get enough people following us.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I mean, if we get like 1 million views or 1 million followers, I'd dance.
You need 1 million people following us to dance.
Oh heck yeah, man! I would dance.
Far less,
far less, Rob. And you've done it in public, so. You can do a choreographed dance. You have a daughter. She can do it all for you.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And take it away.
That turned to a spot I didn't think it was going to, but nonetheless, one last update. I haven't done any updates for this team yet. Good friend of mine, Mike Fowler, down in the Virginia area, talked a little bit about Patriot High School last year. His son Jack is a senior. His other son Dan the Man is a freshman. Tough start so far for Patriot. They lost 32-7 last week against a very tough team, I think Colonial Forge. But according to him, tough non-conference slate, just like we're used to seeing here in Ohio. If they can do some damage in their region, they look good for making the playoffs, and hopefully they'll make a similar run that they did last year. So looking forward to we'll follow them and go from there. So we want to thank Marcus McMahon for joining us tonight from Midview. Next week we will be covering. Josh will be at Talmadge versus Copley. Noah will be at Shaker Heights versus Medina. Sean will be at Lakewood versus Westlake. And then next week, after this show, we'll have the debut of the Power 10 rankings. Again, we start ranking those up after 4 games of play, and I'm not gonna lie, it's tough. It's really, really tough right now. I'm trying to slot some teams in right now. I usually, the ultimate decider is wins. Wins is where is how we do our poll. It's just we need some more games to play to have a good look at it. So follow us again. Check out our Twitter/X page at SOT Podcasts. Last and certainly not least, I want to thank everyone from on my personal side of things. My mother-in-law, whose name is Joyce Thomas, she passed unexpectedly last Friday night. So I wanted to thank everyone who's reached out to me and my family for the support as well. So that's why I've changed my name to that to give her a shout out. So with that does conclude the high school football recap show for week 3. Again, presented by Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance. We will be back here next Monday night, again at 7:30 p.m. live on our YouTube channel. All these shows are archived. Man, don't say are archived at the same time. That's
10 times
really
fast
up there. All of our shows are archived on YouTube, so even if you miss us live, you can check us out. Check out some of the highlights that Rob puts up. Check out our past interviews and some of the other hijinks that we happen to come up with, like TikTok dances, for example.
It's going to happen. By the end of the season, Rob is going to do a choreographed TikTok dance to a song of my choosing. I just haven't figured out how it's going to play out.
All right, with that, we will with that. For Rob Chapman, Noah Jacobson, Josh Duffy, Sean Duffy, my name is Ed Dick. This has been the Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance High School Football Recap Show. This is Sports on Tap, and we'll see you on the other side.
Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com.
It's all about the deal at Brunswick Auto Mart. Save big this month with deals like this. Don't miss the Make This the Summer event and lease a new 2025 Ram 1500 Night Edition Crew Cab 4x4 with heated side mirrors, parking sensors, backup cam, Apple CarPlay, and lane departure warning for just $319 a month. Brunswick Auto Mart. Car buying made truly simple.